And speaking of culture, prior to, I guess, a few jobs ago now, you worked at TJX, which we mentioned is, like, I
Yep.
guess, a parent company of TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, which is not known for having a tech culture, but you
Yeah.
wanted to kind of change things there. Tell us more about your experience there and kind of bringing the kind of digital transformation over to these kind of companies.
Yeah, I mean, I had the chance to work there on a lot of interesting projects. And as I grew more senior as an individual contributor there, I had the opportunity to get in the room with VPs and folks who were making decisions to shift from more of a project driven culture to a product driven culture, thinking about rather than okay, so some business area has decided they want a system that tracks markdowns on clothes more efficiently. And they write up a 300-page doc and fax that over to a business analyst who sits near an engineering team. And they take the fax and hand it to the developers. The developers go build it for 12 months and come back and, oh, hey, that's not what we wanted at all, right? I mean, we've all, well, those of us who've been in the industry long enough have all experienced projects like that, to something where the folks who have the business need are more embedded with the software teams who are building it, right? And I don't mean they're sitting next to them and talking every day, but where there's an ongoing relationship there and it's not purely transactional of like, okay, I got funding from the company for this project. Part of that is I get allocated a development team. I don't ever want to talk to that development team. I don't ever want to be in the same room as that development team. But like where folks are actively engaging, looking at prototypes, giving feedback along the way, all of the stuff. I feel like agile is one of those things that has over the past 20 years maybe taken on some negative connotations, and there's a bit of a, I think some places that's not a good word anymore, but I mean this is ultimately what agile was initially, right? Was getting away from the model of a multi-hundred page spec getting faxed over and then a year later getting a product that didn't match the spec at all, right? To have that sort of active iteration, the conversation, the partnership. I think that's part of what we were able to achieve at TJX that was really interesting.
Yeah, and in some regards, this kind of effort that you put in is almost harder than solving some of these technical problems because I'm assuming that there's probably teams or lots of people on teams that either thrived or that saw a lot of career advancements in the existing style of, let's say, project
Sure.
led style. So how did you, I guess, get buy-in or even help that transition for people that are just have spent maybe years or maybe a decade in this older way that you wanted to transition them away from?
Yeah, if you're at a point in your career, this is probably not something that an entry level eng can pull off necessarily, right? But if you've been at a place for a while and you have some organizational credibility established because you've delivered on your projects and you've met your commitments, you're going to start to get exposed to folks who are more senior leaders in your team. And I think people also, you can develop the sense for, as new senior leaders come in, whether that's internally or externally, who's interested in these sorts of things, right? And I think one of the things that folks don't tend to understand is most senior leaders, these are not people who are aloof. They want to talk to people who are doing the day-to-day work, right? So if there's a new VP of engineering at your company and you hear them say in an all hands meeting, hey, I want to introduce this new process, or I want to build systems using a new approach, send them an email, right? Like ask for a one-on-one, go talk to them, tell them like, hey, I'm interested in this. And I think by like building those relationships, and look, is that going to work every time? No. But I think a good portion of the time, those folks would love to have a meeting with someone who's actually on the ground doing the work and who can help them build their own credibility for the changes they want to implement within the org, right? Because I think it's tough. The thing that it's easy to miss is a VP of engineering can come in and say, hey, I have this grand new approach. But if you're just trying to impose that top down, it's a lot harder than if you have some folks sprinkled within the org who are really interested and committed to that new approach, who want to spread that change, right? And I worked for a while for an agency that was building systems for Ford, and it was really interesting there. They were going through the same sort of thing as they were looking to build a flagship mobile application where there were people who'd been Ford IT forever, right, who just wanted to keep doing what they were doing. But there were, 10, 20 people throughout their IT organization who were really interested in shifting to product-driven development and who were having reading groups to read the lean startup and figure out how they could like bring that sort of startup culture to a big corporate IT department. And they made progress along the way, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. And there's going to be some successes and some failures, but get involved in those decisions. Find the people who are above you in the org chart who want to enact the same kind of change you do and build relationships with them.
If you enjoyed this clip, make sure you watch the entire video, which has a lot more content just like this. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of our episodes where we talk to leaders in the tech industry, from software engineers to product managers to engineering manager, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and also click the notification bell.